Microphone test. Check. Microphone. This word is going to come in handy. Acid, lava high in silica, low in alkali oxides. Currently looking at Home Reef here. This is recent satellite imagery of 29th. Currently seeing thermal signature above the volcanic mountain. This is Home Reef. The volcano is a submarine volcano, as a lot of many other volcanoes erupt under the sea floor. Not to say they don't rise up and rise again, and there's other volcanoes. I could take my keyboard a little away from my microphone. See if my typing doesn't come off as much. Krakatoa, quite famously, the island that blew itself apart. 30,000 inhabitants have thought to have gone under as the entire mass of land crumpled. Within a few decades, Krakatoa built itself back up above sea level and currently enjoys nice rays to the sun. This, however, is a bit more dramatic in the satellite imagery that I've seen so far of the amount of land mass that was created over just the last 2 or 3 years of Home Reef volcano. Which, not saying that it's a separate volcano, it's a ephemeral island. It could be a lot of the volcanic material bunches up, bounds up, continuing making a sleeve where the volcanic material will take the path of least resistance, falling where the pressure takes it. Not saying that it doesn't explode outwards, but it's going to keep cooling itself, its volcanic tube. And these islands, they can form rapidly out of material that's pretty loose. It can become a reef near an end. My notes. The Metis Shoal and Late Island, which I think are very near to where we're zoomed in on Home Reef. Although this is here is Late Island, is probably a different way to pronounce that, but now it's Late Island. Volcano is about 18 kilometers southwest of Late Island. I continue to zoom out further and further. Gives a better idea of the. You know what? I have Google Earth here, I better use it. So here is island chains northeast of New Zealand. Zoom out more here. Here's Australia. And you have New Zealand over here. And north east, where you'll find these island chains, Tonga, other islands and reefs, many active volcanoes. I can zoom in further here. All of the red triangles are currently active volcanoes, which is volcanoes that have had recent eruptions within the last 10,000 years. Anything before that is going to be that teal color. A lot of unnamed volcanoes, unexplored seamounts, but most importantly, before I zoom in any further, Fiji. Directly east of Fiji is Home Reef. This does not show up on screen. This is just information about Home Reef on the place mark of Google Earth Pro. But notice that these pop-ups didn't show up before. Probably didn't see that. It's a stratovolcano. Mostly built up of diacetic pumice rafts that collide for different reasons at different heat temperatures, different properties whenever these rocks meet, that we've seen on satellite before. The swirling vortex of pumice, of volcanic ejecta, ash, and all the other stuff that comes out of this. Eventually building up a wonderful little island. But if we zoom in here, this is Google Earth Pro, so this is not going to show us. Minimize that little guy and come back over. Oh, already open. Make a time lapse of the area, the 9th to the 11th degree. Filter out the satellite images that have less than necessary coverage. The 12 slides. This is using a different band so I can make sure right on right here. This is the ephemeral island that formed after years of explosive eruptions that resulted in very hot material that bubbles up. As these air pressure, the water pressure underneath, catch underneath these pillows, you get a lot of bubbles churning above the sea. This is looking at bands 12, 11, and 4 of the island that formed. Make a time lapse of it so we can get a better idea of its thermal signature and possible direction where the smoke of the volcano and ash clouds or pumice rafts might be floating or lofted. So the 9th is actually the 24th. Let me go back. I have this set to the 19th to the 24th. Let me go to the 14th here so we can get a few extra days out of the scans. So the 14th we see here. Now the 24th is when we get the thermal signatures that are showing up. That would be lava, explosive blast, eruptions, lava fountain. It could be a variety of things, but one thing that we do know is this island 2 to 3 years ago wasn't there, or at least it wasn't above sea level. I haven't seen much before the 80s of this, just the research I did of this island being above sea level in such a dramatic fashion. It seems to only be in the last 2 or 3 years. It's not unusual, but it is really awesome to be able to see in such detail, and we'll explore in different ways of looking at the volcano and the surrounding areas to see where the material might be headed, if it's just circling around, being collected by the island in a vortex, can't escape. So we'll keep pulling you. So all the ash, at least right here, it looks to be pretty close by, but that's not what we're currently looking for. Now the 9th, the 14th, the 19th. Sorry, this is first. 19th, 24th, 29th. Still a lot of cloud coverage above the volcano, but you can still see its sequence signature right in the same area. So it's an ongoing explosive eruption that's happening to a volcano that is probably a glass tube surrounded by very hot rock, just continuing to push up more and more material that is dispersed throughout the sea, throughout the other island chains, as far as Australia, as far as New Zealand. It's great pumice rafts of just little tiny specks of ejecta. That's interesting now that we see that this wasn't always active in the last few months, just into the last few weeks, until I think it was September 24th was the day. September 24th was one of the days that we had that we were able to see thermal activity, any kind of heat signature on the volcano itself. Before that, it was either cloud obscured or not as explosive as an eruption. Either way, it's interesting. So let's take another look at false color and the 8, 4, and 3. We can see this island sitting here, and we can see, might be kind of hard to make out here, as the island is right here. We have smoke coming out, headed in west. Meets a lot of cloud, dissipates in the weather, causes a lot of clouds to higher, lower. As the smoke doesn't actually do anything on its own, the smoke is going to just keep going. It's sticky, wants to find more of itself. We're not talking about wildfires, but it's a lot of particulates, matter within the volcanic ejecta. It disperses within however long that it has been. We'll go back and look at the last few months or even the last few years satellite imagery to see just how much of the volcano was above sea level. We can see it at all above sea level until present day. Right here, this looks like a lot of material that is floating on. It's swirled up in this vortex. Smoke here. This is definitely attached to a volcano. A little better of a view. A lot of angry waters around the volcano, as it currently would be trembling with the amount of activity that we've been seeing. This is 924. Scroll down to, this is the 9th. The an underwater plume right here. It's ash, particulates, soot, all kinds of elements, materials that just keep circling around, getting trapped in a vortex of which it cannot escape, so it just eventually starts piling up and becoming more land. Not saying that there is a tube directly connected underneath that is more complicated than I can get into. That's a whole other discussion that somebody far more qualified would be able to discuss. Currently, we're just looking at what we can see on satellite. Any assumptions that I make, probably not incorrect. We're looking at things that we can see from space in great detail. It's a currently active volcano that's known to be active, but what we're going back to confirm not if the volcano is active, which we know it is. We're looking at material that gets surrounded by the volcano and swirled around as the submarine volcano continues to erupt. Not a tube that's connected into this volcano, but more as an ephemeral island that doesn't actually connect to the volcano itself, at least not what I've read. It is where a lot of the material that built up has gone, and eventually, as we can see in these swirls, it's a lot of material that comes out very far. And it could just be plumes of ash and smoke as the volcano emits a lot of ash and soot. It falls back down. And it'll follow a similar pattern to where the smoke went. So it's not just the submarine volcano ejecting material into the sea, but it could also be the material that is lofted above sea level falling back down that's creating these patterns and trails. You see that the smoke northwest heavy material built up around the north and east flanks of the island, where this material will fill every nook and cranny and harden, because it might be trying to cool off as it's getting above sea level, bouncing around, bobbing around, as these pumice rafts are similar common sites around such an active volcanism. You can see here, just obscured by cloud coverage. You can see the remnants, and this is the 19th. Previous slide we were looking at here, the 14th. We're on the 19th now. I just realized that. Not see that date above. There we go. Date right here on the top right. '24th, and we still see the island, but we can't see any heat signature using these bands. Out of that, we'll go to moisture index. Volcano is right here. You can see the smoke plume. 9/24 date that we suggested that might have been eruptions going into the month of October. Now, heat drives moisture away, and a lot of heat all at once drives away moisture even further. Start on the 14th, we can barely see the island there. We push play. See some heat buildup, absence of moisture, smoke, ash, currently filling the air. Now within these scans, the island looks to have taken quite a bit of sediment and other material itself. Look at that. We'll look at that. Darker colors closer nearby. Lots more material that forms a vortex, whirls around closer, and eventually fills the island. Impacts the island, fills holes, gaps, crevices, anything. You can also create more, as this is a very violent birth. These islands that form above sea level have a lot afflicted upon it almost immediately. It's displacing water. It's very, very violent. So to see an island that's formed within the last 2 years is pretty cool. Especially one that we have so many days of satellite information. So let me go back last year this time. 2022, October 19th. Now we can see it is a much different shape. It is very spherical. Not saying that it isn't tall, not saying it has a peak or anything from this, judging it just by its shape of land, as we were making these shapes, and eventually building up an island in itself after a series of powerful eruptions. Now this is 2022, 24th, sorry. Pretty significant bloom. A lot of material is being displaced. Heavy materials. Let's make a time lapse of this because this is from last year in 2022. Let's go a little higher up. To September to November 2022. So it's been a pretty wild eruption from last year as well. You can see there's even more material that's booming around, that's spreading around, being dispersed, that's being taken by wind, a lot of different currents pulling at it, and water being displaced by the formation of an island above sea level. Okay, so 9/20/22, go into August. Okay, we see very little here. You can see very little of that plume, but it's there. What isn't there is an island. An island is not there in 2022, in August 30th. We go into September 4th, again, date up here. We can see some swirling, but nothing as dramatic as we're probably about to see. Is this island, we're working backwards to see just how much was above sea level, if it was above sea level in the past 2 or 3 years, if it looked like it went below, if it was destroyed by, let's say, a violent wave, or other reasons why it would be torn apart. It's significant here. Okay, that's a better image. Now you can see steam, not exactly volcanic ejecta, that could be steam, as the very hot material is making its way above sea level. This is a much smaller island than what we're currently seeing, ephemeral island, adjacent right next to or located on one of the vents, possibly. It's a lot of material that is being brought up, that's being swirled around. Let's push play. There's only 13 scans. Let's just push play and see how far this goes. Very violent. Go back to that last frame. This is 2022, October 29th. You can see these swirls here, these individual banding, striations in the water. Could be one and another one. It doesn't have to be just all in one plume. It gets caught up in the waves and the currents, especially near new island being formed. It's going to be tremendous amount of go back to June 1st. See if there's anything here. June 1st. Feel like this volcano has been quite active in what we've seen just in the last year. Go to 2021. Back a few days. So around this time last year, this island wasn't quite above sea level that we can see. We'll go back a few days. I use the gloss color to see if we can detect anything going forward. Heat displacement, water, currents, any kind of smashing together of different temperatures. A lot of radar action. Clouds, but you can see shadows of the clouds. Let's go 2020 in October. October, no island. Randomly pick another day, do March 7th. We continue through March in 2020. Looking for just any sign of eruption. A very, very active to look at volcano lately. So it's interesting to just scroll back just 2 to 3 years and see that what makes up an iconic already landmass has only been around for a year or two maybe. Go back to 2023 where we'll be able to see the volcano in its current shape. As we can see, now in take screenshots. Did I remember to take screenshots? Yes. I'm going to turn off the browser for a second. So this is (2021). This is has a very spherical shape. After taking in bands and bands and bands of material encircling the island, eventually it took shape. What we currently see now okay, I had a bit better of an image on current live, but that's just fine. At least we can see the shape of the island. And we can see it's more long than it is wide. We see the bands primarily north and then southwest. Eventually these arms do catch up and eventually started putting together enough giant pieces of itself, or oh, I'm sorry, I don't have that up. Take that off. Again, this is 2021 right here. Now we're back 2023, October 29th. Pretty amazing heat thermal signature. Something that we didn't see on the other years of this volcano is a tremendous looking volcanic peak of a vent. Home Reef here. Now you keep seeing that pop up. That's why we call this that's why this volcano is ephemeral. The Home Reef volcano that is right here. So this is not the actual volcano, but it can be connected, can be fed, and it looks like there's volcanism that's happening on the island itself too, so pretty wild. It's a massive amount of land that just built up over a couple of short years, at least from what we can see above sea level. Do a time lapse of this area right here. Play. Pretty amazing to see. This is from 9/24/2023. Before that was the 14th. The date's on the top right. Going back to the 24th September. Come down 9th. From 24th to the 9th, tremendous amount of material. It looks like within the last few weeks, it just developed another huge portion of itself, or at least drove a large portion of itself above sea level. I'm not saying this is all from just swirling around of vortex of material, but also directly underneath directly underneath this landmass is a volcano. At least one. 14th, 19th, a lot of swirling. We're going to see this volcano make some real progress in its expansion, unless it falls apart, which does happen. But as of right now, it's a lot more material that is being built up, that's being washed around above on top of the surfaces of this island. Now, on the 29th, we can see almost a doubling of growth. Come back over here. Use the false color from the 24th to the 1st of today. You see the blue is smoke swirling, along with heat and other elements it's picking up in the water. This is going to be mostly a lot of this ash, these ash rafts, plumes that occur that happen underwater. So within just the last few weeks, we're seeing expansive growth of just an island just above Home Reef volcano, north of Tonga, central chain of islands. Very far, not very far, but close to Fiji. As we looked earlier, I want to bring back Google Earth right now. Here in the Lake Islands. Always just zoom right back down to that. So I do have daily scans of this volcano, so it's not just every 4 to 5 days that you'll, 4 days that you'll NOAA 20, corrected reflectance. Oops. So it's a bit lower resolution, but we might be able to discern something out of this, or in the associated bands that we'll look at. It's 30, so I'm just going to play it. Let's play this time lapse. This is Late Island up here. Currently looking right here. Go ahead and play one more time. Try color bands. Come down to the 24th. A lot of cloud obscuring. Too small to see. This is Late Island up here on the north side. If there's anything in particular we're picking up, it's too tiny using this method. Try satellite 3. I'm sorry, Sentinel-3. Do the chlorophyll index next on top of this. Let's see how much more we can zoom in. Great. Wow, a little further out. 3 kilometers. That is from Cape. So up here, that's Late Island. We're not looking at that. We're looking here. This is where we're looking. Because kind of see familiar shape taking place here. See. Weather, could be clouds, could be. Don't see any of the graphs, any of the bands of material that's swirling around. Try the chlorophyll index, might show a little more information in the water. Cave. Huge bloom, 12. Nothing significant. Now let's check aerosol, methane, carbon monoxide, nitrogen dioxide, and sulfur dioxide levels in the air. Okay, well, at least I'm a little bit online. Not sure what happened here. Started having significant packet loss. VPN bombed out. Camera before that bombed out. But let me remove that technical difficulty because I think it should be good. Having significantly less drop frame, so I might be back on. I'll keep going. we're looking at carbon monoxide, methane levels of and around the area of Home Reef volcano north of Tonga island chain, central island chain, Tonga. Nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide. Go back to aerosol. It's a submarine volcano, so we're not seeing those signatures as prominent as we normally would. Now to show you just how small of an area it is, even though it's an exciting new island. Gotta zoom in pretty far for that effect to be able to have. The island, 466 meters in length, about 260 meters in width, and they've Global Volcano Program reports 40,000 foot eruption plumes, or 12 kilometers. So there was no sign above sea level of the volcano in 2020. Only signs of a cone vent in 2021, as this island was making its way above sea level into a larger island that formed in 2022, as we see now currently sit on the screen. In this scan of the 25th, let's see if I'm more recent. Oh, go to RGB. Let's red, green, blue this. We can see how much more material sounds taken. Play. It looks to have either formed a southern flank or the island righted itself up. It's complicated, but it's there, it's happening, it's something we can look at and measure, tangible. We could very precariously sail there. I mean, not sail. I don't know how to sail. I don't know if anybody would want to actually be around this area that isn't a research purposes. And a very trying to remember the name of the volcano up it. Don't remember the name of the volcano that's just south of here that erupted in 2020. Significantly much larger eruption by so many more magnitudes, but that would be for a different day to look at satellite images of that volcano, which I don't think I've done anything on, so that would be the date. I would go by that, and just to see ozone, measure things in the atmosphere, any data that it picked up within the days after, and we can find any pumice rafts and ash floats. Pretty exciting. We're seeing a lot of expansion, doubling of permeable land. Just don't know if it's going to last, but this has been the month of October. It's been building its south flank up. It'll be exciting to see just how much this volcano puts itself up in the island. Okay, I apologize for that slight interruption. There were some massive connection issues that looks like they've been largely resolved, and I am looking at Home Reef, looking at notes. Well, that's it. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Have a good night.